Hi friends, I'm Gio, and welcome to today's story. Our kiss was one to remember. Let's get started. You should be a race car driver, the client said, as I handed him 2 sacks of takeout from Gordon's Gourmet Burgers. The bags wafted the mouth-watering aroma of hamburgers and Gordon's famous spicy fries. He smiled as he took the bags. "I'm trying to beat my buddy's record," I said, pocketing the generous tip. Ron had once done more than 30 deliveries in one night. "Gotta run." I sprinted to my car, a 4-year-old Mitsubishi Mirage hatchback, and glanced at my phone for the next delivery. Takeout from Peking Budget Gourmet to be delivered to Jordan Hayes. A lot of takeout. The order totaled over $300 and would require the collapsible cart and back. That could score a nice tip. I'm Everett Parker, 21-year-old sophomore at UNLV, majoring in environmental science and minoring in urban studies. By day, I tackle classes. By night, I deliver food for Faster Fast Food, FFF, an app delivery service that delivers food from any restaurant in Vegas. That is, if they accept takeout orders. Most do, but the Regal does not. I raced to Peking Budget Gourmet, located in the Hamilton Mall, in 10 minutes, waited for another 5, and then zoomed to Jordan Hayes' apartment, located on the 15th floor in the high-rise called Suite Virginia Apartments. It's a new high-end complex, located just 5 minutes from the Strip. Why does he need so much food? The light traffic allowed me to make good time. Suite Virginia Apartments is one of the tallest residential buildings in Vegas. It wasn't as tall as the 37-story Veer Towers, but at 34, it wasn't far off. Right next to it stood their parking garage, and at ground level, they had their own private valet parking exclusively for Suite Virginia Apartments. Jordan Hayes must be rich. I climbed out of my car, unloaded my cart with all the food, and waved at the valet. The valet, accustomed to deliveries, held the door open for me and my cart, pointing the way to the elevators. The lobby exuded luxury with its cream and beige palette, with tall tropical palms spaced throughout. I ran for the elevators. While I waited, I double-checked the floor and apartment number. I noticed something else about the order. Mr. Jordan Hayes didn't leave a tip on his grocery store-sized feast. That bummed me out. All this work lugging all that food around, and no tip? He could have left it on the app. Most people do. Stingy bastard. Didn't he care for us lowlifes? Quickly, I ascended to the 15th floor. As soon as the door slid open, I heard the music. Loud, powerful M83's Midnight City filled the air, mingling with the smells of cologne and perfume and deep-fried delicacies. Apartment 1515 was halfway down the corridor, its door propped open and colored lights flaring. Jordan Hayes must be having a party. I wheeled the cart to the door and knocked. No one heard me. I yelled, "Jordan Hayes, Faster Fast Food, with your delivery." 20 or 30 people crowded the room, some lightly dancing to the music. All wore high-end stylish clothes, and a sign on the wall read, "Congrats," in bright blue sparkly letters. About the room were plants and fresh bouquets of flowers. Almost every person held a wine glass. A table by the kitchen held a couple dozen bottles of champagne. "Jordan Hayes," I said again, "your delivery is here." Some lady wearing a low-cut black dress and a thin gold chain with a heart on it pointed to the back where 3 men talked. The middle one was the man the lady pointed at. I stared. He wore a crisp, tailored white linen shirt with French cuffs, Brunello Cucinelli slim-fit beige pleated pants, a navy blue blazer made to follow his body's angles, and brown leather Oxford shoes with matching belt. He also had a dark steel watch on his left wrist, paired with a matching dark steel chain about his neck. I'd guess he was 28, just shy of 6 feet, maybe a trim 160 pounds. He moved with the sharpness and grace of a dancer. The casual crispness of his auburn hair with gold highlights made me look twice. Jordan pulled up his left pant leg slightly, revealing a no-show socks and a nasty puzzle of purple scars crisscrossing his ankle. He rotated his ankle, showcasing the extent of the scars, then dropped the pants leg. Someone called out to Jordan, and he glanced up. A quick half-smile, and he walked over, reaching for his wallet. I fell in love with that smile. Once I leave, it's too bad I'll never see him again. One of his friends sauntered over, leaning in close to Jordan, so only Jordan could hear. "Robbing the cradle? Isn't the boy toy a little young for you?" he murmured, low enough so only Jordan would hear, but I heard anyway. Jordan stiffened. "Shut up," he snapped. As Jordan neared, I caught the woodsy fragrance of his cologne, tinted with a hint of citrus. It transported me back to a night when my friends and I went clubbing. We had stopped by the mall to hunt for a seductive scent and tried a lot of options. I was certain the man in front of me wore something complex, like an Armani cologne, probably Armani Code. I loved that scent, but on a college student's budget, I couldn't afford it. "You arrived faster than I expected," he said. "Everett Parker, at your service," I said, with a little bow. "Your feast awaits. Looks like you're having a party." Jordan looked at the cart and all the sacks inside. A couple of his friends took the cart to the kitchen counter and unloaded the food. The aroma of something spicy filled the air. The Bernini Casino promoted me to entertainment manager, and it came with a big pay increase, he said. "What's an entertainment manager?" "I organize and schedule the entertainment for the Bernini Casino. Concerts, bands, shows, you name it. I even convinced Scarlett to headline for us a year ago." "Impressive," I said. Jordan reached in his pocket and pulled out a scaled wallet decorated to look like a koi. "I always leave a tip, but I do it in person." He opened his wallet and handed me a $100 bill. "That's too much," I blurted out. "Not for tonight," he said, flashing that smile again. For the moment, I fell in love. Too bad we live in completely different social circles. Like, he had one, and I didn't. I accepted the tip. "Thanks. What's the story with your ankle?" "You ever see the show Mom and Pop Go to Church?" he asked, running his hand through his perfectly styled hair. His shirt not only had French cuffs, but sparkling blue cufflinks. Could those be sapphire? "No, never heard of it," I said. He pursed his lips. Halfway through the run, I was practicing some changes for the opening choreography and had a bad landing. "Broken?" I asked. "Busted my ankle in 3 places," he said. 3 surgeries, a year of physical therapy, and I can walk like normal." "You were a dancer?" I asked. "In a previous life," he said. Someone called his name. "Gotta go. Thanks for bringing the food." "My pleasure," I said. "See you around." "See you as well," Jordan said, already walking off. I'd never see him again, unless he ordered from faster fast food and got me as his delivery driver. Like with most of my clients, I only ever see them once. 2 days later, I stopped by Viva Las Blooms after I finished a delivery to pick up flowers for Grandma's birthday party. She turned 73 this year, and Mom planned her a surprise party with a table centerpiece of white roses, white carnations, white hydrangeas, and white calla lilies to add height. As I stood in line waiting for the florist to bring it up front, a familiar, seductive, woodsy scent walked in. Jordan. I couldn't hide the tiny smile that tickled my lips. My heart beat a little faster. I glanced back, confirming the sexy man behind me. He strode into view, a tailored navy suit hugging his frame. A light blue shirt with a striped silk tie added a touch to the sophistication. Ray-Ban round sunglasses shield his eyes, but not the sculpted scruff from the party. It still looked great. My glance turned into a stare. Suddenly, my breath quickened. For a second, and I am ashamed to admit it, I wondered how his lips would feel pressed to mine. He quietly spoke on his phone, oblivious to me. The hum of his deep voice tickled my ears. Was there any chance he remembered me? At first, Jordan didn't notice me. When he looked at me, recognition widened his eyes. "Hi," I said, trying not to act nervous. "Hi," Jordan said, putting the phone in his pocket. "You're Everett, the delivery driver from the other night." Acting as casual as my nerves would allow, I said, "You have a nice place. Did your girlfriend help you decorate?" There it was, the subtle question that would reveal if he was straight. A tiny fear wiggled inside me. "No," he said, glancing at a random flower behind me. "My boyfriend and I broke up a few months ago, and I got rid of anything that reminded me of him." I relaxed, relief washing over me. "What kind of flowers are you here for?" I asked, curiosity piqued. "I just like fresh flowers around my place," he said, a hint of vulnerability in his voice. "I spent more than a year cooped up because of my ankle, and having something alive around me cheered me up. You?" "Grandma's birthday party is tomorrow night," I said, an idea sparking in my mind. I pulled out my wallet, my fingers brushing my homemade business card, and handed it to him. "Everett Parker," he read, a playful lilt in his voice. "Are you giving me your phone number?" My heart pounded. "Any time you need food or a ride, call me. As long as I'm not in class, I'll be right over," I said, hoping I wasn't being too forward, but I really did want to see him again. Jordan half chuckled, half smiled. I hope he didn't see this as one guy secretly hitting on another, even though it was exactly like that. "What's your major?" he asked, pulling out his koi wallet and slipping my card inside. "Environmental science, minoring in urban studies," I replied, my voice filled with conviction. "I want to make a difference." "How does that make a difference?" he asked, genuine curiosity lighting up his face. "Back in middle school," I began, Dad's company sent him to Copenhagen for an international conference. He paid extra and brought the whole family. Well, he had to do work stuff. We got to explore. Did you know that Copenhagen is one of the greenest cities on the planet?" "Really?" Jordan said. For a second, I thought he was being polite, but the way he slightly leaned in, and his eyes focused on mine, convinced me that he was sincerely interested. "They have nearly 220 miles of bike lanes, and that's just in the city. More than half the people there ride bikes, instead of driving cars," I said, excitement bubbling in my voice. "And the buildings are eco-friendly. You wouldn't believe how they've incorporated parks and green spaces into the urban landscape. It's all seamlessly blended together. It's amazing." "You really liked it?" he said. "I'd go back tomorrow if I could," I said, feeling like we were having a special moment. My heart sang. "Jordan, it's good to see you again. Can I help you?" the florist said. He turned to her and said, "Can you make me a bouquet with yellows and whites? I want something a little brighter this week. I got the promotion." The florist smiled. "I know just the thing. I'll be right back." She disappeared behind a curtain. Now is my chance. Maybe my only chance. Who knows if he would call me? Sometimes, as my mom always said, you have to jump into the pool with both feet. "You were saying?" Jordan said, turning to me. I took a steadying breath and jumped in with both feet. "What if I picked up takeout one of these nights and met at your place and showed you all my pictures of Copenhagen? I think you really like VM Berget. It's also called the Mountain. It's an ecological building that is like nothing I've ever seen. Get this, the lower apartment's roof is the garden for the upper apartment, and that apartment's roof is the garden for the next level's apartment, and so on. They stack like that for 10 levels. I don't think we have anything like that in the States, Jordan said. Just seeing what they did with that city changed my life, I said. I mean, I was into ecology and recycling and biking before we went. But after I saw what they did with Copenhagen, it became my dream to do that here in America. Your purpose in life, Jordan mused. Before I could answer, the florist came back with a bouquet of white and yellow flowers surrounded by greenery. Cash your card, Jordan. Time to go, so I quickly added, I'm driving tonight, so I'll have plenty of time to talk. Call me if you're interested. Maybe we could set something up for this weekend? I've got your number. I'll call you later, he said, pulling his wallet out of his pocket. Was that a polite way of saying he would call so I would leave? Or was it a definite, call you later? I dropped off the flowers with Mom, logged into Faster Fast Food, and started driving. Every time I dropped someone off, I checked my phone. Every time I picked someone up, I checked my phone. When I stopped for gas, I checked my phone. At random times, I checked my phone. Jordan did not call. At 11, I called it a night. Jordan didn't call, or text, or anything. Not a word. The sting of disappointment lingered, but I brushed it off. Life doesn't pause, and tomorrow was Grandma's birthday at Mom's place. I arrived about 5 to help Mom set up. Grandma, in her wheelchair, sat parked in front of the 50-inch flat screen, locked into jeopardy. Not much of a surprise party, I said to Mom. Mom shrugged, tasting her crock-pot red bean chili with exotic spice blend. It had been simmering since 7 this morning. Mom never listens when her chili is involved. The whole family would arrive about 6. Dinner was at 7. As if you hadn't guessed, Mom and Dad are divorced. Dad is dating again. Mom isn't. Mom received the old house in the settlement. Mom rented furniture from the local church, so I set up 6 round tables outside, while my cousin set up 30 chairs around them. We set up a rectangular banquet table. One aunt spread dark blue tablecloths on all the tables. Another 2 carried the 2-tier cake the size of a wedding cake, and Mom set the white flower bouquet on the banquet table. While we laid out the food, my phone buzzed with a new text. It was Jordan. My heart skipped. I opened the text. Hey, Everett. Sorry I didn't call yesterday. Hectic day at work. Today, too. The Horizon Nexus account is proving to be a lot tougher than expected. I'm too tired to cook. I know you have your party tonight. How about picking up an order from Lupita's after? If you haven't eaten, I'll get something for you, too. Jordan. I felt like I was floating. I'm sure my grin stretched past my ears. Don't be rude. Read it aloud, Grandma ordered, her eyes narrowing like she already knew it was juicy. It's just a guy texting me about delivering some food, I said, trying to deflect. Grandma chuckled, her grin widening. Read it. I sighed and read the text aloud. Grandma's eyes lit up with a mischievous gleam. Is he cute? She said, her voice dripping with mock innocence. Grandma, I yelled, pretending to be embarrassed, though I couldn't help smiling. Everybody knows I'm gay, and most people don't care. Tell him yes, she said, batting her eyes as if she were the one flirting. It's your party, I protested, though I wanted to leave right then and there. But family first. Mom would skin me alive if I left. Why would I do that? Is there something I don't know about? Mom asked, carrying a tray of her homemade baked triple red pepper cheesy noodles. The air around her smelled of cayenne, red pepper flakes, and Fresno chili peppers. Grandma leaned forward in her wheelchair, pretending to pout. My grandson has a hot date with a sexy young man, and he wants to stay here with his old grandma. He's older than me, I blurted out, but Grandma giggled harder. Take him some cake, Grandma said, and make sure you do everything I wouldn't do. I rolled my eyes. That was Grandma for you. Mom couldn't repress a little smile. Go ahead, Ev. Everything is covered here. Take him some dinner, Grandma yelled, clearly having the time of her life. I looked at Mom. She shrugged. I'll pack some food, lover boy. Don't forget to buy some condoms, Mom teased. Mom, I yelled, caught between laughing or dying from mortification. The glow-in-the-dark ones are best, Grandma chirped, and then cackled like a villain in a soap opera. Both Mom and I stared at Grandma, shaking our heads in disbelief. Sometimes I think you're losing it, Mom said, but her smile betrayed her amusement. I sent a text to Jordan. On my way, bringing food from the party. I hit send. My nerves buzzed with excitement. His response came quickly, a single smiley face. It wasn't much, but it didn't matter. I didn't know what to expect when I arrived, but possibilities raced through my mind. Maybe I'd show him my Copenhagen pictures, and we could talk for hours. A part of me, even if it was wishful thinking, imagined kissing him. At the very least, I'd get to see Jordan again. That was enough. A grin tugged at my lips as I packed the still hot Tupperwares and headed out. During the drive, my thoughts kept drifting back to him. His smile, his voice, the smell of his cologne. By the time I had reached his building, 45 minutes later, my nerves had settled into a quiet, giddy hum. Tonight, I was grateful for valet parking. What I didn't tell Mom, I always carried a condom in my wallet. I handed the valet my keys, grabbed the food, left the car with the valet, and rode the elevator to the 15th floor. With any luck, I would spend the night. I rang the doorbell. Jordan's voice yelled out, "Everett, is that you? Give me a second." I bit my lip in anticipation. Butterflies in my stomach kicked and tumbled like they were playing tag team football. Jordan was impossibly good-looking. Best hair, best cologne, best clothes. Tonight was going to be fun. The deadbolt clicked. Then the main lock clicked. The door creaked open. The woman who answered was 6 inches shorter than the Jordan I remembered. She wore a vintage Pink Floyd t-shirt of a crystal splitting light into a rainbow. My heart plummeted, a sick twist of dread knotting in my chest. Disappointment surged through me, sharp and unrelenting. Jordan had a girlfriend? Was he bi then? I had misread all the signs. He had only called me to deliver food, and I had brought leftovers from Grandma's party. Stupidity flooded my gut. How could I have been so dumb? My hopes for a romantic night just got flushed down the drain, leaving me hollow. "Hi," she said, smiling. "You must be Everett. I'm Andrea. Come in. Jordan has told me all about you." I forced a quick smile to mask the letdown I felt. As I stepped inside, my eyes landed on Jordan leaning over the dining room table, now covered with a chaotic sprawl of blueprints, AI-generated building photos, pencils, and rulers. "That smells good," Jordan said, standing up to face me. "Hope you don't mind, but I invited Andrea over." His voice casual and warm. "We both work for the Stratiform Design Group," Andrea said, but her voice faded out. All I could concentrate on was the way Jordan's cologne erased everything else in the room. I stopped paying attention. Jordan wore the same Armani cologne, its rich fragrance weaving through the air, settling on me. He'd gone casual tonight, a blue Babylon 5 t-shirt, a pair of slim-fit khaki chino shorts, and leather fisherman sandals. No socks. His lightly hairy legs drew my eyes down to the faintly purple scars crisscrossing his ankle, each one a small, silent story that I didn't know yet. Jordan smiled, rolling his eyes when he caught me staring at his legs. I managed to smile back. "As I was saying," Jordan said, grinning mischievously, "Andrea and the rest of our team are working on the Horizon Nexus planned housing project." "I was listening," I lied, and took a shot. "I've got the pictures of Copenhagen on my phone." "Good." Jordan gave me another one of his smiles. "What say we eat, and then you can show us? I've got some wine." "Just a glass," Andrea muttered, hiding a knowing smile. "Why don't you two boys eat? I noticed a few details I need to fix. Besides, I've already had dinner." I could tell that Andrea had guessed why I was here. This wasn't the date I imagined, but maybe this was better. More natural, less pressure. We'd skip the awkward silences that plague first dates and talk about Jordan's work and my studies. And with Andrea here, we'd have an accidental chaperone, keeping things light, keeping us from rushing into anything too soon. Inwardly, I wanted to jump for joy, cheer. "Oh God, calm down." Trying to keep my voice steady, I failed. My words tumbled out in a rush, nerves tightening my throat. "This is Mom's red bean chili and her red pepper spicy cheesy noodles. One of my aunts works at a bakery and made the bread, and the last Tupperware, it's full of cake." The words spilled out, too much, too fast. We perched on dark leather-topped bar stools, its wood cool beneath my hands. Jordan poured me a glass of wine, then poured his. If Andrea hadn't been standing behind us, this would have felt exactly like a date. "Are there any cities in America like Copenhagen?" Jordan asked, taking a bite of the cheesy noodles. His eyes, warm and focused, locked on mine. "Boulder, Colorado is one, though I've never been," I said, taking a small bit of the chili, the heat prickling my tongue. "They've added bike trails, green spaces, and outdoor living, but cars still dominate the roads. I want to go further and design a city as eco-friendly as Copenhagen." Jordan sipped his wine, set it down, and pursed his lips. "You haven't graduated college yet, so why are you so interested? Where did this passion come from?" This was a can of worms I didn't want to open. Memories that made my stomach twist. I stared into my chili, the steam blurring the edges of a memory. East Las Vegas. I was 8. "Before my family moved to our current house, we used to live in East Las Vegas," I said, moving the spoon around in my chili, but not eating any. "Pretty rough?" Jordan asked, sympathy softening his gaze. "You could say that." My voice caught as the memory sharpened. "We didn't dare go to the nearby park because one of my friends stepped on a needle." "Like a drug needle?" Jordan's brows furrowed, concern etched in the lines on his forehead. "With a dirty syringe attached," I said, meeting his gaze. Even now, 13 years later, it feels like yesterday. My best friend Benjamin, I, and 2 others were playing tag. Benjamin was it. He was right behind me, about to tag me, when I dodged left. He lunged, slipped, hit the ground, and started screaming. Blood trickled down his leg, the syringe jutting out like a cruel reminder. "It wasn't a lot of blood, but it was enough to terrify an 8-year-old, I said, pausing to let the memory settle. "The city cleaned up since then, but I want to create places where kids can play without fear." "What happened to Benjamin?" Jordan asked, his hand accidentally holding mine. "Was he okay?" His mom was frantic, shouting for help. The police and paramedics arrived in a blur of sirens and lights. They took Benjamin to the hospital, and he had a tetanus shot and another shot. They monitored him overnight and released him the next morning, I said, suddenly aware of Jordan's hand. I turned my hand over and held his. Benjamin was fine. He barely remembered it. I haven't seen him since we moved away. Jordan gazed at me, a sad look in his eyes. It didn't mean anything to him, but it changed the way you look at the world. It shattered your sense of safety, Jordan said. His hand tightened about mine. I guess you're right, I said, taking a deep breath to clear the melancholy. For a long time, I didn't want to go to any park. Benjamin's scream still echoes in my mind, sharp and raw, even after all these years. No kid should carry memories like that. The blood, the screams, the fear, etched into their mind. Andrea chimed in, her voice tinged with kindness. You feel guilty about the accident, don't you? Even though you didn't have anything to do with it. But I did, I said, letting go of Jordan's hand and facing Andrea. The sadness clawed its way back, sharp and unrelenting, dragging me into that night all over again. If I had run a few feet further before dodging, we could have avoided the needle. It was my idea to go to the park, my fault entirely. I lay in bed that night convinced I had just killed my best friend. I could feel the weight of the guilt crushing me. Even now, it had been my fault. But you didn't, Jordan leaned in, his voice steady. And that is why we are looking at Copenhagen. You're going to do something amazing. We're going to do something amazing. Together. We'll make Horizon Nexus a place where no kid has to face what you did. Andrea shook her head, a hint of resignation clouding her expression. You need to convince our bosses at Stratoform for that. If it even nibbles into their profits, their answer is a hard no. They're so rooted in the past, blind about what they're doing to the planet, or at least to the city, Jordan said. Amen to that, Andrea said. Let's get to work, Jordan said, gripping my hand again. His eyes burned with an unshakable hope. Everett, will you help me make a difference? Benjamin's scream haunted me as I remembered years of avoiding swings, climbing bars, even the cool feel of the grass under my feet, all tainted by fear. Jordan's hopeful smile continued. I want you to work with me. For the next 2 hours, we dove into the Horizon Nexus plans. Stratoform's outdated plans ignored green spaces and excluded bike lanes. Their idea of recycling still revolved around a communal dumpster. I proposed replacing a few houses with a park and reimagining the roads to allow both cars and bikes. We brainstormed other ideas, including using eco-friendly materials and posting solar cells on the roof. Their traditional plans involved roads lined up in a grid, but we agreed it needed a more organic, fluid feel. At about 9, Andrea stretched theatrically, her mock yawn breaking the intensity. I'm going to call it a night. It was a pleasure to meet you, Everett. Don't stay up too late, Jordan. Smiling, she left Jordan and me alone, closing the door behind her and letting the moment belong to us. Jordan led me to the couch, his hand brushing mine briefly, a fleeting touch that sent a nervous flutter through me. A shy, lopsided smile played on his lips, as though he was gathering the courage to act, even as his eyes betrayed his unease. We sat down together, the cushions sinking slightly under our weight, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. The room was quiet, save for the faint hum of the refrigerator in the other room. The glow of the lamp cast warm, soft shadows across his face, accentuating the delicate tension in the air. A thrill raced through me, sparking at my fingertips and spreading like a whisper through my chest. I like your ideas, Jordan said finally, his voice hesitant, like he was afraid of saying too much. His words came slowly, almost as if testing the waters. It's late. You're welcome to stay, if you want. My heart skipped, and I felt a small smile tug at my lips. The air felt heavier now, charged with the kind of anticipation that needed no words. I sort of missed my class the next day. Epilogue. 3 weeks had passed since I joined Jordan in shaping the Horizon Nexus project. Today, he and Andrea presented our vision to Stratoform's board. I wasn't there. I couldn't be. But when Jordan called me afterwards, his voice was triumphant. They loved it, he said. We're moving forward. We're actually doing this. That evening, Jordan and I celebrated with takeout from Hearthfire Pizza, a spicy meat lover's combo with extra cheese, while lounging on his couch, sipping sipping a cool glass of red wine, and listening to romantic music in the background. His hand brushed against mine as he reached for a second slice of pizza. We laughed, joked, and talked about everything, except work. For a moment, the world outside faded, and it was just us. When the laughter finally settled, he looked at me, his eyes soft but earnest. This is just the start, you know. Not just for the project, but for us. I couldn't have done this without you. I smiled, squeezing his hand, and I wouldn't want to do this with anyone else. I thought of Benjamin, the blood, the screams, and of the years I let fear shape my view of the world. But sitting here with Jordan, I realized that fear didn't own me anymore. Together, we were creating something better, not just for kids who would never have to live with that fear, but for ourselves too. The parks we were designing, the bike lanes, the green spaces, it was all part of something bigger. Jordan and I weren't building a community. We were building a future we believed in, together. I smiled, hope warming me like the morning sun. You'll have to get a bike lane named after me. Jordan laughed, and for the first time in years, the world felt a little bit brighter. Our kiss was one to remember. The end. Thank you everybody for joining me. I'm Gio, and I'm glad you're here. I appreciate it. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for your prayers and for your concern and for your well wishes. I'm getting better and better. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Peace and love, my friends.